Men are known to leave their wives when their wives get sick, and I just started watching Love is Blind, the new season, and this woman is describing her family dynamic where both of her parents have MS. They're not together. Her dad has been married to her stepmom for 25 years, and she is the full caregiver of her father who has MS. She described her mother's situation. Her mother was never married, had been with a man for 15 years, and when her MS got really bad, he dipped out on her. She is trying to communicate that this is a marriage thing, that it's because her dad and her stepmom are married, the stepmom is the caregiver. This has nothing to do with marriage and has everything to do with the gender roles. The woman stayed with her partner when her partner got sick, but the man will always leave his partner when she gets sick. When he now perceives the woman as a burden, he will leave her behind. This is not new. We see this all the time. If a woman is diagnosed with a terminal illness, a man will not stick around. And yet women are the ones who are continuously caregiving to their partners, to their families, to their communities. Men just leave. They don't hold up to their responsibilities.
So men are 6 times more likely to leave their spouse if she is terminally ill. That's 600%. This is a stat from Diary of a CEO, by the way. So if you haven't watched that episode, please watch it. It's not that I'm shocked. It's just that these are things that we've always known about men, but to have stats like that to back it up is just wild to me. And this is why I sound crazy to most people when I tell them that for me, I don't care about what a man has. I don't care about how much money he has. It's about how he shows up for me. That's why when I was on Convo, I made that example of, this is a funeral. You are coming in your fully preserved self, in your 3-piece suit. What about the work, the hard labor that needs to be done? What about the things that money cannot solve? Show me how you can support me in difficult times. It's very easy to be a good man when things are great. But masanyiwa, men will switch up on you so quickly and it's so messed up. But I also blame us, because we are so worried about all the external factors when we're choosing a partner. We don't observe character enough. Being terminally ill is one thing, because if you're terminally ill, you know you're going to die. But what happens if you get into a car accident and you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life? Can you trust your spouse to take care of you like that as a woman? Can that man be there for you? Is that man gonna wipe your ass? So you guys can actually continue to worry about a man's bank account. I will continue here in my little corner with being more concerned about how much self-preservation a man has. How selfish is he? That's my criteria on whether I want to be with you or not, period.
I can't stop thinking about how the divorce rate for men leaving their sick wives is so high that the nurses are taught to warn women patients when they get diagnosed with a serious illness. That's because those men didn't marry a partner, but a housekeeper, a childbearer, a nanny. A sick woman can't do those jobs anymore, so the men just leave. They actually feel entitled to this. I've heard men married 20 to 30 years tell their wives, "I didn't sign up for this." People have no idea how common this is, especially with cancer patients. Before I was properly diagnosed with multiple myeloma, they thought I had ALS. This is his dating profile I found. I'm fighting for my life and he's out getting laid. Watching my dad take care of my mom into her last day, knowing that there are men who leave right after diagnosis, made me love their love even more. My grandpa too. He bathed her, dressed her, brushed her hair, cooked for her, read for her, carried her to bed till he physically couldn't. What's even more upsetting is how people are sympathetic to men who do this. Women who leave their sick husbands are rightfully dragged, but I've heard and seen instances of men receiving comfort and the wives are expected to let him go out of love. I grew up with the understanding that men can leave you at any moment for any shallow reason because it's just how it is. There was a lot of more replies saying how being a caregiver isn't easy. It's a lot of work. It's hard. It takes a toll on the marriage. Totally understand that. I had several family members that went through the whole cancer thing, and I get it. It takes a toll on everybody around you. But here's my thing. You decided to get married. You took those vows that said in sickness and in health. If you didn't mean that, why the hell you get up there and say it? And I know, you don't understand it till you gone through it. Truly understand that. But if you love that person, Like you actually married them because you love that person and you meant in sickness and in health, then you're going to be there. And that's just that.
Put a finger down that after you got COVID, you got asthma, and so you're in and out of the hospital every month of 2021, and then your husband at the time decided that it was too much for him to handle, not you to handle, and so he decided that he didn't want to be with you anymore and wanted a divorce, and so he told you to call your parents the same week that the Air Force was medically retiring you so they could go from Texas to South Carolina to move you back from South Carolina to Texas. And then after you came back to Texas, all the doctors healed you back into health. Shout out to Texas doctors. And then you texted him, like, do you want to do couples counseling, or are you serious about getting a divorce? And he was like, he was serious about getting his divorce because he wants to fish and golf and do whatever he wants and be a bachelor, in his words, and do whatever he wants. So you're like, okay, then he actually means this. And so you filed divorce a year later because of South Carolina laws. And then you don't ever get a court date, and then 2.5 years later you decide to sell the house that y'all bought together and split equity 50-50, because after you buy a house, after you're married in South Carolina, it's marital property and you have to split 50-50 no matter what, unless adultery and other stuff happens. But so you divide properly, equally, because that's a good thing to do, even though the house is under your name, whatever. And then you text him and was like, hey, since you took all the furniture, can I have 50% of what I'm owed, because you took all the furniture because I did not have anywhere to live. And so he says that you're being greedy because you're asking for the cost of 50% of the cost of the furniture that you bought together. What?
Narcissists can't stand it when you're the one that's sick or not feeling well. When you're sick, your attention shifts away from pleasing the narcissist, and they hate that. They thrive on being the center of attention, as we know. So when you're not doing well, when you need extra care or support, it shifts that spotlight away from them. So instead of showing empathy, they might get irritated or act like you're inconveniencing them. They may downplay how you're feeling by saying like, oh, you're just being dramatic, or it's not that serious. And they also tend to turn the conversation back to themselves, like, oh, I've been sicker, or you think you're sick, let me tell you about my day. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that your needs challenge their sense of control and that sense of importance. And a narcissist doesn't want to deal with situations where they aren't the priority. The truth is that you deserve to feel cared for, supported, especially when you're not feeling your best. And if somebody can't handle that, or they make it about themselves, it's a reflection of them, not you.
I want to start this video by saying that I am beyond grateful that I have such a loving and supporting husband through all of this. He's truly amazing and helps me through all of my worst days. Unfortunately, I know that that is not usually the case for many women. There have been multiple studies over the last few years looking at couples with one partner who is chronically ill or becomes chronically ill while they're married, and looking at the divorce rates. While the percentages may have varied slightly in the studies, and different variables were slightly different from study to study, they all basically came to the same conclusion. And that conclusion was that those marriages where the woman was the chronically ill one were substantially more likely to end in divorce than if the man was the one who was sick. And if you don't believe me, here's just one example. The study looked at 515 patients in multiple medical centers with multiple different issues that were all married. And as you can see, in the ones that were separated or divorced at that point, 90% of those women were the affected spouse. So this is from that same study. It basically found that a woman is 6 times more likely to be separated or divorced soon after a diagnosis of cancer or multiple sclerosis than if a man in the relationship is the patient. 6 times more likely to end in separation, divorce. Now, obviously, this just studied straight couples. I have no clue on the statistics, or if there even are any statistics on like LGBTQ plus couples. If there are any similar studies on LGBTQ plus couples, with a chronically ill partner, I'm curious to see what those say. But clearly, this is a major issue. I mean, this study alone found that men are 6 times more likely to leave their sick wives than women are to leave their sick husbands. That's absolutely horrendous. I have a few ideas as to why this is the case, and I wish I could say I was shocked about this statistic, but I'm not. But I'm curious to hear other people's ideas on why they think that the divorce rate is so much higher when the wife is sick. Like 6 times higher. That's wow. Like I said, I am so grateful that I have a loving and caring and understanding husband. But I know that's not the case for so many. And to those women experiencing that, I'm sorry. You deserve better.
This one is for you. If you're in a relationship, okay, let's say you're sick, okay, let's just say you're sick, and you tell your man that you're sick, and he doesn't do everything in his power to make sure that you're okay, sweetheart, what are you doing?
One of the easiest and most foolproof ways to find out how that man feels about you, how does he act when you're sick, and how does he act when you're on your period? This may be a rude awakening to some of my girlies out there, but let's be real. If a man loves you and you are sick, you will not have to ask him to do anything for you. He is on you like white on rice, trying to make sure his girl is okay. He gonna be like, you got a runny nose, he ready to take you to the ER. You're on your period, he bringing you chocolates, candies, roses, water, ibuprofen, Advil, aspirin, everything. And this is not about a man's personality. This is about how he genuinely cares and feels about you. This is a lesson all of us women need to learn, because we need to see how he is with us when we are down and out before we have kids with him. Because if he can't take care of you when you're sick, when you got COVID, you got a headache, how the hell is he gonna take care of you when you're pregnant? How's he going to be able to take care of you when you guys are old? If a man really loves you the way that you deserve to be loved, you will not have to ask, beg, plead, pray for love, for attention, for nurturing. If you're sick, he's sick, because that's how painful it is for him to see you in that state. And no, I'm not talking about buying stuff and sending stuff. It's very easy to press a button in this digital age. I'm talking about showing up presently, physically, being there for you when you are down and out. I don't care if he works 300 hours a day, he will be there. He will find a way to hold your hand, support you when you are sick.